Matt here with Keeping It YYC. Today we're joined by Maria Bartolotti with New Concept Management. How are you today, Maria?
I'm doing really good, trying to keep warm in this cold, frosty weather that we're having.
Brr, as am I.
Are we
Winter,
ever ready for winter?
never, never. It came very fast this time, though.
Yeah,
Well, we'll get right into it, and we'll have you tell us a little about New Concept Management.
absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you, Matt, for inviting me to your video on Keeping It YYC. I really appreciate the invite.
No problem. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, what can I tell you? So New Concept Management has been in the industry since, I'm going to say 2001. So I've been involved in the condominium community for roughly about 19 years. As you know, I'm the owner of New Concept Management, Inc. We are a condominium property management firm that is based right here in Calgary, Alberta. So anyone who knows me understands my passion for this industry. I just, everything I do and everything I love is about the condominium community and about the industry. I hold my prestigious ACCI and FCCI designations. I'm also a very active member with the Canadian Condominium Institute for the Southern Southern Alberta chapter as their chair of the Education Committee. And I also reside on the board of directors. So education has really been one of my strong efforts in this community here as well. We manage over 30 condominium corporations locally in Calgary. We do have a couple out in Okotoks as well. And I've recently been asked by the Real Estate Council of Alberta if I would team up with them and serve on one of their project teams, which is called Divesting Responsibility for the Delivery of Education. And that's to bring licensing to condominium managers in our industry.
Oh, okay. Because right now there is not a licensing requirement at all, is there?
There is none. There is no licensing required for condominiums in this industry. We've been advocating for it for many years, and we're finally at the stage where we can finally start looking at providing courses to our members.
Oh, okay, that's very exciting. I don't think condominiums are really going anywhere, so it's about time.
No, not in this economy. It seems like everywhere you look, there's a condominium that's being built. So
Everywhere, yeah.
yes.
That's very exciting. I gotta be honest, I've been on a few different condo boards before, and I've never talked to somebody in property management that is as enthusiastic, clearly brimming with enthusiasm like you are. So,
Well, thank you. I do love it.
very exciting to see because, as you say, with it not being licensed, a lot of different people can get into it, not necessarily that enjoy it or have much skills in it, I can say.
I have to agree, and that's one of the reasons that, licensing is so important in this industry is simply because there's so many condominium management companies out there. And a lot of them, kind of, I don't want to say they're, acting out of character, but they can if they don't understand the rules and the regulations or the legislative requirements in being a condominium manager. So licensing is so important in that industry, because I think it's going to weed out some of those companies that really don't belong here.
That could be good, and then
I think so.
replace them with ones that are more educated.
Thank you. That's correct.
So what are you doing to adapt in this current environment?
2020 has been such a challenge for many different industries, including ours. And one of the things that we've done in our environment to adapt is, being a condominium management firm, is simply trying to follow the proper protocols when it comes to the pandemic. I know for us, it's really important to reduce, for us, we've decided that it's important for us to reduce the amount of meetings that we have on site at a condominium property, as well as, our in-person board meetings with our boards. And the reason we've decided to change our focus a bit is simply because, it's important for us to help mitigate, COVID-19 and the spread of COVID-19. So things that we're doing is Zoom meetings, Zoom webinars. If we do have to meet on site with with a contractor and or board of director, we ensure that we're wearing masks. So all our staff here are equipped with masks, hand sanitizers. And if they're meeting on site, they've got to keep, 6 feet apart to conduct their meeting. But most of the time we're conducting our meetings via Zoom.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you're very...
Yeah, our AGMs are going towards that direction as well. We're doing, AGM via webinar, which I find interesting, but I think it's important, So there's still so much uncertainty with this pandemic right now.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that one. That sounds like a little bit more challenging, having an AGM virtually.
It's worked out pretty good. I'll be honest. It's at first I kind of had my doubts about it, but first off, it's safe. And two, as long as we're able to control the audience and follow the steps required to do the webinar, it's actually gone pretty good. So.
Okay, well, that's positive to hear.
Yeah.
My next question I have for you is, what can condo owners and industry members do to keep themselves up to date on changes to the industry?
I think it's important. It's really dependent if you're, a public member or, being a realtor, real estate agent in the industry. If you're a board member, no matter where you're at when it comes to condominiums and what aspect of that, service you're providing to the public or in a condominium community, aligning yourself with the proper organization is really key. I think it's really important because if there's changes to legislation, that organization is going to be able to deliver the information to you. So making sure that you align yourself with the proper organization is key. If you've moved into a condominium and you want to learn about the board, or you want to learn about condominiums and governance and the different roles and responsibilities, I always encourage people to join the board. Join your board of directors. The importance of that is you get to see what happens behind the scenes. So you're not just an owner anymore, but you're a decision maker. And being a decision maker, you actually get to, make decisions that are in the best interest of all owners. You get educated as well. Ensuring that, that you're going to events that have to do with the condominium industry. You're taking courses within that industry as well. So for me, it's important that there's, anyone who's entering the condominium industry, that there's education behind everything that they do. So align yourself with the proper organizations that are able to deliver that focus for you.
Absolutely. That's a fabulous answer. I will say, from the condo owner's perspective, it can take a reasonable amount of time and effort to be on a condo board. So definitely encourage people to make sure that they would be committed to it before joining. That's for sure.
I have to agree. The commitment is so important. I always say, if you're going to be joining a board, make sure that you've got the commitment to be able to stay on for the year or two. And not only that, but that you're able to be active as a board member. I find a lot of times that, everybody wants to join the board because they have a personal agenda, but it doesn't always work that way, right? So you've got to be an active member, you've got to be a decision maker, and you've got to understand, that it's not just about you when you're joining the board, it's about everyone, a collaborative effort, right? So.
I agree wholeheartedly. My last question is, how important are condominium bylaws and why should they be updated?
That is such a good question. The importance of having your bylaws is that they serve as your rules and regulations for your condominium. Very important to have updated bylaws. Very, very, very important. The reason for it is because you can't enforce those bylaws if they're not updated. And the condominium industry right now is going through legislative changes with their bylaws. So if they're not updated, if you don't update your bylaws, the bylaws that government has enacted those are going to be the bylaws that you're going to be essentially stuck with, and you won't have an opportunity to make changes to them. So really, really important as a board, you do want to ensure that if there's certain rules and regulations that apply to your condo, that you want to make sure that those are in your bylaws, because if they're not, you're not going to be able to enforce them after 2021. So very important to have those bylaws. The other thing I always recommend as well is that anyone who's thinking about moving into a condominium, you always want to ensure that you understand what it means to live in a condominium community. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people move in and they think, oh, the condo board's going to do it all. The management company will do it all. That's not always the case, because as owners, you also have a responsibility when you move into a condominium. You've got certain things that you're responsible for, right? And there's rules that you need to follow as well. So
Absolutely. And really the condo board is just, it's the owners, it's the collective owners. So the people on the board are just representing the collective owners.
that is correct.
It's not a free ride.
It's, if it was, I don't think it would benefit anyone. So really important. Bylaws are so essential. They're so important. As owners, as prospective owners, you want to make sure that you understand them. As a resident, like a tenant, again, read those bylaws, you know, understand what it means to live in a condominium. So very important to have a good set of bylaws.
So maybe a little too much into the weeds, but I am curious with this new legislation coming from the government, is this a standard set of bylaws that will supersede condo bylaws, or what are these changes that you're referring to? I'm trying to understand.
There are, you know, there's a few changes that have been enacted through the bylaws. Too many for me to go into today. So unless we've got about an hour to talk, it's quite a bit. Some of the things that you're looking for, some of the things that have changed with the bylaw or with the act and regulations is insurance, for one. So, you know, government now makes it if there's a leak that has originated from your unit, you know, in the past, certain bylaws, the way they would read is that, you know, it's, you know, the owner, the condominium corporation had to prove negligence within that condominium before they can charge back a deductible. In some of the bylaws, not all of them, but some, where now the government put into the bylaws that if there's a leak that originates from the unit, you as the condo owner are now fully responsible for paying for that leak. And the board now has the authority to be able to charge up to a $50,000 deductible on any water loss, as long as that $50,000 is listed within the condominium insurance certificate.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be very careful there. So insurance is definitely one of those items that has changed. Another one that's changed is bylaw infractions. You know, I don't want to go into too much discussion on that because it's very lengthy. There's rules and regulations that have changed. For example, let's say you live in a condominium and you want to, you know, you want to impose policies on your condominium owners. For example, I'll use a very easy one. You know, certain time of day that you can use a laundry machine, for example, common laundry. Well, if you haven't converted those over to rules and they haven't been adopted into the new bylaws, into your new bylaws, you know what? You're not going to be able to enforce when people can use that wash the laundry room.
I see.
So there's quite a bit of changes. Those are just kind of the easy ones that we can talk about today, but there's been a lot of changes within the regulations. So you definitely want to make sure that, you know, you're taking time as a board to ensure what those changes are and how you can adopt, you know, new changes into your bylaws that is specific to your condominium. So,
oh, okay. Perfect.
yes.
Well, that's very, very thorough. I'll probably ask you some further questions offline, but for now, that's all I had for you. we do ask that you end the interview by looking at the camera, stating your name and your business name, and just asking fine people watching to keep it local, keep it YYC.
Well, my name is Maria Bartolotti with New Concept Management, and keep it local, keeping it YYC.